Hi, so today I will talk about chocolate. Is chocolate healthy or not? So this is the question we will try to answer today. So I will focus more on the health aspect of chocolate rather than the history and so on. I will talk a little bit about that, but it will be about health today. Before we start, I invite you to watch my other videos on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is entirely dedicated to natural health and especially digestive health. And I also have a website, thecandidaslayer.com, where I have a blog with several articles about natural health. I also have a course on how to heal your gut naturally. Okay, so let's start. What is chocolate? So first of all, what is cacao? Okay, so chocolate is the transformation of cacao. Okay, so cacao is a seed. As you can see here on the picture, it's the seed of a fruit. Okay, and the seed is covered with a sweet pulp. That is what is actually edible. Normally, the seed is not edible. Okay, only the white part around the seed is edible. Okay, but the process, the transformation process to make cacao into chocolate makes it edible. So we will see this detail later in this video. So what is it? So the cacao tree is native to South America, in particular Brazil and Venezuela. Okay, cacao or cocoa, I'm not sure how you say, is the seed of the fruit, and animals and warriors, and at the time of the Aztecs and the Maya, used the pulp around the seed as a food, and they would travel with this in their pocket, and they would eat it on their way, and that's how they spread the seeds from South America to Central America and Mexico. Okay, cacao means red light in Nahuatl. That was the language of the Mayans and the Aztec. And the scientific name is Theobroma cacao. That means the food of the gods, because the Mayans and the Aztecs considered cacao as a gift from the gods, and originally they used cacao only during religious ceremonies. Mexico, especially in the state of Tabasco, is the place where the cacao trees were first cultivated. Okay. The Mayans and the Aztecs in Mexico highly valued cacao beans. They used it as a currency. And they were the first to develop the transformation process to make a drink from cacao, with fermentation, drying, removal of the shell, roasting, and grinding. Okay. The modern process differs after grinding. The paste is refined to liquefy it, and then they add lecithin and other stuff, sugar, milk, and sometimes other ingredients. Okay, so this is how it looks. So again, you can see how the fruit looks here and here on the left. So here you can see the type that is called criollo. That is like the original type of chocolate of cacao. There are several different types of the cacao fruit: criollo, forastero, and trinitario. Okay, those are the three main ones. Now there are other varieties also. Criollo is the most ancient, and it's the best. It's the ones that is most preferred for its delicate tastes. Okay, but it's a very small part of the production in the world that is made from criollo. It's less than 5% of the production made with criollo, and the rest is forastero and trinitario mainly. Okay, so criollo has a red shell like that. Forastero has a yellow color. Trinitario is a mix of both. It's like orange. Okay, so here you can see that the animals, they would break the pods and suck the white pulp around the seeds, and then just throw out the seeds. Okay, the seeds are not edible, as I was saying originally. but the process makes it edible. And here you can see on the right that it started in South America, and it spread to Central America and Mexico. So here you can see the process to make chocolate, so from cacao to chocolate. Okay, so the first process, they take the seeds with the pulp around and they ferment them. Okay, so the fermentation process will separate the pulp from the seed, and it will deactivate some anti-nutrients, and it will enrich the seed with more polyphenols. We will talk about that later. So during the fermentation process, they put the seeds with the pulp in boxes like that, and they cover it. Because of the fermentation process, the temperature rises up to 50 degrees Celsius. That is quite warm. So they let it ferment for several days. It's up to 8 days. It depends, but the longer the fermentation, the better it is. Again, because it will deactivate more anti-nutrients, and it will rise the level of antioxidants. After that, they dry the seeds, ideally under the sun, because that's how they did originally. So now it depends on the company. Some companies, they dry it in the sun. Some companies decide to dry it in ovens. Of course, it's much better to dry it in the sun because it preserves more nutrients and it creates more nutrients. We will talk about that. And they dry the seeds like that for about 2 weeks. Okay, so here again, it transforms some molecules in the seeds, and slightly, little by little, it will change the taste, and we will get more of the chocolate taste. But really, at this point, it still doesn't taste like chocolate. Okay. After that, after drying, they remove the shell and then they toast it. Okay. Then they grind it. So this is how they did originally. The Aztecs and the Mayas, they would grind it with this type of tool, with stone. And then they would make a chocolate drink. So this is where it differs from the modern processing. Okay, from here, it will be different for the modern processing. But the Mayans and the Aztecs, so they would grind it and then they would mix it with water, and then they would use 2 different jars to make it flow from one jar to the other. Why? It's because they wanted to make a foam. It was very important for them that the chocolate they drank had this foam. I don't know why. I can't explain why it was so important for them to have the foam, but they did that for several minutes until it's all nice and foamy. Okay, and then later when the Spanish came, they invented a tool. So instead of moving, the liquid from one jar to another to create the foam, they made a tool with wood, and they would use this tool like that in the chocolate beverage to make it foam. Okay, and that's how they would get the foam, and then they would serve it like this. This is a picture that represents the Spanish doing that. Okay, and then serving the chocolate. And this is how chocolate was originally consumed. Okay, it was a beverage. It was not a chocolate bar. A chocolate bar. It was a beverage that was very simple. It was just the chocolate powder mixed with water, and they would add some chili pepper, and later they added more spices like vanilla, like cinnamon. They would add honey, and the Spanish didn't like it like that. So the Spanish are the ones who added the sugar and the milk. Okay, and that's when they added sugar and milk that it became very popular in Europe. But originally, no sugar, no dairy in chocolate, and also originally chocolate was consumed very sparsely. Okay, it was not something that was consumed every day by everybody. No, it was originally only used during religious ceremonies, only by some people, like the religious people and the people from high ranks. Okay, in society, it's much later than chocolate became consumed by everybody. Okay, originally it was just sometimes consumed in small quantities by only some people. It was more seen as a medicine and a psychoactive plant, rather than a food. Okay, this is when it differs in the modern process. This is the process that they didn't do, the Mayans and the Aztecs, but that we do now. So after fermenting, drying, what else? Fermenting, drying, roasting, and grinding. Now we add this step here that is called conching, where they mix the cacao paste for a while at a certain temperature. It makes the paste, it refined the paste, and it homogenized the paste. And also they add lecithin, they add sugar, and other things like chocolate. So that's this at this moment here. Okay, so worldwide consumption. So most of the cacao is nowadays produced in Western Africa, and especially in Côte d'Ivoire in Western Africa. Okay, this is like more than 60%, 70% of the production that is made there, and then after that it's in Latin America and a little bit in Indonesia and the rest of Asia. But the vast majority of chocolate that is consumed in the world is consumed in North America and in Europe, and they consume more than 60% of the total world production. Okay, and in Europe it's mainly consumed by the Irish and the Swiss in Switzerland. Okay, the composition. So cacao is made mainly of butter, cacao butter, so fats, and cacao solids that have vitamins, minerals, fiber, and polyphenols. Okay, so the cacao butter has different fatty acids. It's mainly saturated fats, but we will detail that. And also in the solids, as I said, vitamins, minerals, fiber, and polyphenols. It has good amounts of some minerals, especially magnesium, potassium, zinc, manganese also. It has a little bit of vitamins, but not so much. I will detail that in a few minutes. And here in this image here, you can see the composition of cocoa, so the cacao powder, dark chocolate, and milk chocolate. So you will see that the cacao powder is always richer in everything than dark chocolate, that is itself richer in everything than milk chocolate. Okay, it's because the more you transform cacao, the more nutrients you lose. Okay, but also the more anti-nutrients you lose. Okay, so except for milk chocolate that is richer in some things compared to dark chocolate and cacao, it's because of the milk. So milk chocolate will be richer in vitamin A, for example, or richer in potassium than dark chocolate or cacao. So cacao butter. Cacao contains 40 to 50% butter. Okay, so it's about half of cacao that is pure fat. Okay, it includes 30% of oleic acid. So this is a monounsaturated fat that we find mainly in olive oil. 25% of palmitic acid, that is another saturated. Oleic acid is monounsaturated. Palmitic acid is saturated fats, and stearic acid is also saturated fats. So it's the majority is saturated fats, with then lots of monounsaturated fats and a little bit less than 10% of polyunsaturated fats. Okay, there's a little bit of omega-6 here and a very, very little bit of omega-3. Okay, so some studies show that flavonoids reduce the oxidation of LDL, but cacao butter does that too. So we will talk about flavonoids in just a minute. So, about the minerals in cacao, it's rich in some minerals, as I said, magnesium, iron, zinc, selenium, and manganese mainly, phosphorus also. So here you can see on the left the amounts of minerals in dark chocolate, and here on the right the minerals in cacao powder. So as I said, cacao powder is always richer in everything than dark chocolate. So yeah, lots of potassium, uh, quite a lot of calcium also, but yeah, especially magnesium, iron, copper also, manganese, good amounts of selenium also. Vitamins. Cacao has some vitamins, but not much. So this is not like a very good food if you look for vitamins. Okay, it's not the food that you choose if you want to get vitamins in your diet. Okay, it's good for minerals, yes, but not so much for vitamins. It has a little bit of vitamin B1, B2, B3, a little bit of vitamin B5, some vitamin E also. But these vitamins are all sensitive to heat, oxygen, and light. So, with all the process we just detailed, the grinding, the drying, the toasting, the conching, all of that, it exposes the cacao seed to light, to air, to oxygen, to heat. So, because of these processes, it loses a lot of vitamins. Except vitamin D, so cacao is considered as a good source of vitamin D, so vitamin D2, because of the amount of fungi that develops on the seeds, mostly during the drying process, and during the drying process if it's dried under the sun. That's why it will, get richer in vitamin D2 from the sun. So it's a good source of vitamin D2, but as I explained in my vitamin D video, vitamin D2 is really not the best source of vitamin D. The best type of vitamin D is vitamin D3. Okay, I will put the link of my video about vitamin D on the top right corner of this video. If you want to go watch it, just click up there. Now, so the medicinal properties or the properties of cacao, what are they? It's mainly properties for the heart, and the circulatory system. Okay, so cacao increases the production of nitric oxide, and it has antioxidant effects. Okay, like delayed oxidation of low density lipoprotein (LDL) cholesterol, and it also inhibits UV lights that causes DNA oxidation. We will talk about that also in the next slides. It can protect the brain. It also plays a role in treating cerebral conditions such as stroke. It increases cerebral blood flow. Sorry. It also is anti-diabetic. It's good for the immune system, and it regulates the immune system. But on the other hand, it is kind of an allergenic food, but it depends. It's not to everybody. It will be only allergenic to sensitive people. So it's not a problem for most people, just for some people, and mostly people who have gut issues. But generally, the scientists conclude that moderate cacao consumers had less frequency of chronic disease than the low consumers of cacao. Everything I show you in these slides, I got them from studies on PubMed mainly, and ResearchGate. Okay, so it's all coming from studies. In one study, they said we should stress that several studies evaluated the health-promoting properties of cacao and not of chocolate itself. Because, as I said, cacao is much richer in everything, nutrients and polyphenols and everything, than chocolate. So, yeah, the medicinal properties of chocolate actually come from these nutrients that are higher in cacao. So, polyphenols is one of the main reasons why chocolate is healthy. Polyphenols are like pigments that you find in vegetables and fruits. Okay, they protect the plants. They protect the plants from the UV lights. They also protect the plants from the insects. Okay, so it's kind of, we can say that polyphenols are anti-nutrients. Okay, so the family of polyphenols is a big family. It includes flavonoids, it includes non-flavonoids like lignans, tannins, stilbenes, it includes phenolic acids. So today we will mostly talk about flavonoids and in particular flavanols. Okay, that's what we find mainly in chocolate. It's flavanols like catechins. Okay, but I wanted to show here that actually polyphenols are a very big family, and yes, chocolate is very rich in polyphenols, but many other foods also. Okay, so the health benefits of polyphenols, it's not only in chocolate, it's in many fruits and vegetables. Okay, like the picture you see on the right, you have lots of polyphenols, yes, in chocolate, but also in berries, all types of berries, blueberries, strawberries, etc. If they are wild, of course, it's much better. In wine, also in red wine. So yeah, in parsley. Okay, we will talk about that in a few minutes. So polyphenols are the main reason why cacao and chocolate are healthy or can be healthy. Polyphenols constitute about 10% of a whole bean's dry weight. So again, polyphenols is what colors the vegetables and fruits. Okay, I just want to make it clear. The darker the fruit or the vegetable, the more polyphenols it has. Usually, that's how it works. Okay, cacao bean is one of the best known sources of dietary polyphenols, containing more phenolic antioxidants than most food. Yes, it's rich in polyphenols, but there are many other foods too. 3 groups of polyphenols can be identified in cacao beans: catechins, and anthocyanidins, and proanthocyanidins. Okay, cocoa liquor that has undergone more fermentation has higher concentrations of flavonoids. Okay, the longer the fermentation, the more flavonoids. That's why I said during the processing of cacao, when they do the fermentation, there are different times of fermentation: 3-4 days up to 8 days usually. So the longer the fermentation, the better, because it will break down the anti-nutrients and it will increase the flavonoids content. Cacao powder contains up to 50 milligrams, and it's a mistake here, it's not grams, 50 milligrams of polyphenols per gram. Processing decreases the polyphenol content by up to tenfold. Okay, so there's much more polyphenols in cacao, a little less in dark chocolate, and less in milk chocolate. Dark chocolate has more than 5 times the polyphenols of milk chocolate. So the bitterness we have in cacao or in dark chocolate comes from polyphenols, but also from theobromine. We will talk about it after that. So polyphenols have lots of health benefits. It's antioxidants, it regulates the immune system, it acts synergistically with other nutrients such as vitamin C and selenium. That's why it is antioxidant. Okay, selenium, vitamin C are antioxidants, but they work together with polyphenols. I talk about that in my vitamin C video, where I insist about the importance of getting the real vitamin C. Vitamin C is not only ascorbic acid. Ascorbic acid is just a tiny part of vitamin C. The real vitamin C has ascorbic acid, vitamin P. What is vitamin P? It is flavonoids, polyphenols. Okay, so vitamin C work together with polyphenols, selenium, and other cofactors. Okay, that's why it's always very important to get your vitamins from food or food concentrates rather than from pills, because they isolate the vitamins in the pills, but vitamins don't act on their own. They don't work on their own. They must come with their cofactors. Again, if you want to know more about that, watch my video about vitamin C. And I also wrote an article about the dangers of isolated vitamins and minerals. I will put the link of this article in the description box under this video. Okay, polyphenols activate endothelial nitric oxide synthase, okay, which lowers blood pressure. Okay, so that's how it works. Inside your blood vessels, you have the endothelium, that is like the inner part of your blood vessels. And this makes nitric oxide. And the more nitric oxide, the larger will be your blood vessels. And the larger they will be, the better the blood will circulate, the better the blood will flow. And then the better the blood flows, the more oxygen and the more nutrients. And then that means that all your tissues and organs will get all the oxygen, all the nutrients they need, so they will work better. Okay, so polyphenols do that. They really help that. And that's one of the main medicinal properties of polyphenols in chocolate. Okay. Polyphenols act on the central nervous system and they attenuate LDL oxidation. Cacao may induce pancreatic beta cell regeneration and stimulate insulin secretion, having a hypoglycemic effect and improve glucose tolerance. Okay, the pancreatic B cells are cells in your pancreas that make insulin. So for people who have issues with their pancreatic B cells, cacao regenerates these cells. It's very important to know, I think. And therefore, it will help with insulin resistance and blood sugar. Okay, and also flavonols, so polyphenols, will inhibit some pancreatic enzymes that digest sugars and carbs. And therefore, because it inhibits these enzymes, your body won't absorb all the sugars. And therefore, here again, it helps to control blood sugar. Polyphenols have also effects on the skin. Okay, not only cacao butter, put on the skin will nourish and protect the skin, but also the polyphenols in the chocolate that you eat. Again, because they help with your blood circulation, it will nourish your skin better, and therefore your skin will be, much more protected from any damage, from sun damage or any other type of pollution, because your skin will be better nourished. Okay, thanks to polyphenols. Okay, here on the right you can see, how much polyphenols, how much flavonols. So again, flavonols are a family that are part of the polyphenols family. So how much flavonols in different foods. So cacao liquor has a lot, 1,500 milligrams per 100 grams. So that's really a lot. Dark chocolate has much less, but still quite a lot, 170. Milk chocolate has even less, 70. Compared to apples, 100 grams of apples have 106 milligrams per 100 grams. That is less than dark chocolate and a little more than milk chocolate. Cranberry juice, only 12.6, but it's still very good. It just, all these foods are great, but it just shows how much there is in cocoa. Red wine also is a very good source, but it only has 22. Again, 22 is a very good number, but it's just it seems low compared to cacao, but it is a lot already. And black tea also has quite a lot, 40, but of course it's nothing compared to these ones. Okay. And then so polyphenols also protect the brain, again because of the circulation, because it improves blood circulation to the brain and to all of the organs. So it protects from cognitive dysfunction. It ameliorates vascular impairment after sleep deprivation and improves working memory performance. Again, it's because of the blood flow that is better with polyphenols. Flavonols also act as prebiotics, so it will help with it will help your gut, it will help your gut flora. Okay, it has a positive influence on the gut flora. It alleviates inflammation. It increases bifidobacterium and lactobacilli populations, and it decreases, pathogenic bacteria like Clostridia or Clostridium bacteria. The intake of 494 milligrams of cacao flavonoids per day for 4 weeks had a significant effect on intestinal microbiota growth. Okay, here again you can see how much polyphenols you can find in the different types of chocolate, and the richest is cacao powder, and then it's dark chocolate. Here are some numbers I found in different studies about the medicinal properties of cacao polyphenols. So it helps with inflammation, it helps the immune system, with vasodilatation, and so on. In this slide, I wanted to show, so we talked about polyphenols in general, we talked about flavonoids. So here it's all the health properties of flavonoids. It's not only the flavonoids in chocolate, it's flavonoids in general in all plant foods. As I said, it's not only in chocolate, it's also in blueberries, in parsley, in many vegetables that have like a dark color. These are very rich in polyphenols and in flavonoids. It is hepatoprotective, geroprotective, anti-diabetes, anti-cancer, cardioprotective, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, neuroprotective, antioxidant. Okay, and here on this part here, I wanted to show again that it's not only chocolate. So yes, chocolate has a lot. You can see it here. Dark chocolate has a lot of flavonols. Dried cacao here. But green tea also is very rich, black tea, and this is just one part of the flavonoids, but these are other types of flavonoids, and you can see there are very rich foods like dried oregano, parsley, citrus fruits, elderberry juice. So again, what I wanted to show here is you should not get all your polyphenols in your diet only from chocolate. Okay, so I know it's logic, but I just wanted to emphasize that you will be healthy if you get a large variety of foods in your diet. Okay, so polyphenols are important. Yes, the best way to get healthy polyphenols is from different foods. Okay, from blueberries, from parsley, from different plant foods. Okay, so another reason why chocolate has medicinal properties, it's because of theobromine. So what is theobromine? Theobromine is an alkaloid. Okay, what are alkaloids? Alkaloids are chemicals in plants. They are considered as toxins. They are considered as anti-nutrients because alkaloids is it's a chemical that the plant used to defend itself from predators. Okay, so theobromine in chocolate is an alkaloid. Caffeine in coffee is an alkaloid. Okay, so theobromine is the main alkaloid in chocolate. Okay, theobromine is a methylxanthine, same as caffeine is also a methylxanthine. So these two alkaloids are very, very similar, but they are not the same. I will detail that. Theobromine is about 2% of the weight of cacao, and there's a little bit of caffeine in cacao, 0.2%. Theobromine has antioxidant activity and has only a small stimulating effect on the central nervous system. It is a smooth muscle stimulant, while caffeine is a central nervous system stimulant. That's where they differ. The main action of caffeine and theobromine is to block adenosine receptors and block phosphodiesterase. That gives these following health properties. It's vasodilator, diuretic, cardiac stimulant, bronchodilator. Okay, Theobromine has an antitussive effect comparable to codeine by reducing vagus nerve activity. It's effective for asthma and cough, and also it relaxes the gastroesophageal sphincter. So what does it mean? It means that it will stop your cough, not by helping your body to get rid of what makes you cough, but by, lowering the nerve activity. So I don't think it's a great thing, actually, because if you cough, it's because you need to, get rid of something in your lungs. Okay, so that's why I would prefer for that, if you cough a lot, I would recommend to take eucalyptus. That will make your cough worse for a short time, but by making your cough worse, you will get rid quicker of what makes you cough. Okay, so it really addresses the root cause, whereas theobromine will just stop the nerve signaling, so it will stop the messenger. But this is how modern medicine works. Modern medicine is only interested in removing the symptoms and not the cause of your issues or disease. Regarding the gastroesophageal sphincter, what does it mean if it relaxes it? It means that you will get GERD. Okay, so if you are a person that has gastritis, stomach issues, GERD, eating chocolate will make it worse. It's the same for coffee. Coffee does the same thing with the sphincter. It will relaxes the sphincter. That's why if you drink coffee right after a meal, or if you eat chocolate right after a meal, you will have acid reflux. Okay. Theobromine has anti-tumor effects for brain cancer, breast cancer. It is also anti-inflammatory. It is cardiovascular protector. It regulates immunity. It protects tooth enamel. It increases HDL and lowers LDL. Theobromine is not absorbed as much as caffeine. It has a much longer half-life, okay? And half of it, when administered to rats, is excreted unchanged. Theobromine crosses the blood-brain barrier less than caffeine. What does it mean? It means that theobromine and caffeines are toxic. They are poisons. Again, I don't call these things poisons, really. I don't call any anti-nutrient poisons, because they are medicinal. It depends on the dosage you take. They are either toxic, either medicinal, depending on the dosage. So anyway, so theobromine is less potent in its effects than caffeine. That's why it's less toxic than caffeine. Okay. Theobromine is a product of caffeine metabolism. The liver converts 12% of the caffeine into theobromine. So it's interesting. If you don't eat chocolate but you drink coffee, you will have theobromine floating in your body. Okay, fermentation, drying, and roasting removes some of the theobromine. There is more theobromine in raw chocolate than in roasted chocolate. Okay, so again, theobromine is a toxin, is an anti-nutrient, and the processing of fermentation, drying, and roasting removes some of the theobromine. Okay, so you will have less anti-nutrients, less toxins, if you do all these processing steps. Okay, you need to know that also theobromine and caffeine are very water soluble in hot water. So there's more in drinks than in tablets. Okay. Dark chocolate, 100 grams of dark chocolate has 700 milligrams of theobromine. 100 grams of milk chocolate has 210 milligrams of theobromine. There's almost no theobromine in white chocolate, and there is more theobromine in cacao powder than in chocolate. Again, theobromine is toxic depending on the quantity you consume, and it depends also on the animal who consumes it. It is very toxic to dogs and cats, but it's much less toxic to rats, mice, and humans, which have an LD50 of around 1000 milligrams per kilo. Okay, it means that you will die from chocolate if you eat a lot of chocolate that has with a total of 1000 milligrams per kilo. Okay, so if you weigh like 70 kilos, it will be 70,000 milligrams of theobromine that you need to die. Okay, and again, in 100 grams of dark chocolate, there's only 700 milligrams. So you will need to eat how many? Like 100 tablets of dark chocolate. Okay, but only 200 milligrams per kilo for cats, and about 250-300 milligrams for dogs per kilo for dogs. Okay, so they are much more sensitive to theobromine, and just a little bit of dark chocolate can kill a small dog. 50 grams of milk chocolate can kill a small dog, and about like less than half of it will kill a small dog. It's less of a problem for cats because cats are not really attracted to sugar, so they are not really attracted to chocolate. So there's almost no way that cats will eat chocolate. In 2014, 4 black bears died of heart failure from theobromine after consuming 41 kilos of chocolate. And here you can see how much theobromine in cacao powder, cacao drinks, chocolate toppings, etc. So there's much more theobromine in cacao and cacao powder, and then there's a lot in cacao beverages, and then in dark chocolate, and then in milk chocolate. Okay, here again you can see it here. Caffeine in chocolate. So yes, there is caffeine in chocolate, much less than in coffee. Here you can see in 100 grams of cacao powder, you have 230 milligrams of caffeine. That's quite a lot. In 100 grams of dark chocolate, you have 43 milligrams of caffeine. So much less. Okay, and even less in milk chocolate. Okay. So knowing that 400 milligrams of caffeine per day is the recommended limit. Okay, so there's 95 milligrams of caffeine in an average American coffee, 230 milliliters, and so it's like a small cup. 95 milligrams of caffeine. Knowing that if you use cacao powder, that's where you have the more caffeine. To make a chocolate beverage, you would put like 1 or 2 teaspoons. Here they say 6, but 6 is quite a lot. So it's 1 or 2 teaspoons of cacao powder in 1 cup of cacao drink. Okay, so let's say you put 2 teaspoons. That's 10 grams. So you will have 23 milligrams of caffeine in a cup of chocolate. Okay, so it's much more. It's 4 times less than what you have in a cup of coffee. Okay, so it's not so much. So dark chocolate. So here we will talk about the properties, the medicinal properties of dark chocolate. So it's the same as we saw in cacao. Mainly it's because of polyphenols, we just talked about it, and of theobromine. These are the 2 chemicals in chocolate that gives it its properties. Okay, so the US regulation regarding dark chocolate is that dark chocolate must have 35%, at least 35% of chocolate liquor. Okay, so the rest can be sugar. It's more in France. To have dark chocolate, you must have 43%. So it's better quality in France. Only dark chocolate with high percentages of cacao, flavonoids, and theobromine, and low content of sugar, differently from milk chocolate or other types of chocolate, would be associated with health-promoting effects, including the prevention of cardiovascular disease. Okay, so again, the main medicinal property in chocolate, cacao, chocolate drinks, is its properties on the cardiovascular system. Okay, so there are different studies here. So on endothelial function in smokers, they found that dark chocolate really helps, really improved it, whereas white chocolate didn't do anything. Why? Again, it's because dark chocolate is very rich in polyphenols and in theobromine, and there's almost none in white chocolate. So the medicinal properties, again, polyphenols and theobromine that are quite high in dark chocolate. Again, here for endothelial functions, dark chocolate significantly improved FMD, systolic and diastolic blood pressure, insulin sensitivity, and serum LDL, whereas all measures remain unchanged after white chocolate consumption. And here it helps also the coronary artery diameter. Okay, that's very interesting here. Milk chocolate also has medicinal properties, but less, because again, what gives the medicinal properties? Polyphenols and theobromine, and you have less of these in milk chocolate compared to dark chocolate. But you still have some, so it is still medicinal, but less than dark chocolate. Okay, there's five times more flavonoids in dark chocolate than in milk chocolate. So milk chocolate is 5 times less potent for its properties compared to dark chocolate, or even more. It can be up to 10 times. Okay. US regulation, the milk chocolate in the US contains 10% minimum of chocolate liquor. So it's really not a lot. In Europe, in France, it's 25%. Okay, you cannot have milk chocolate that has less than 25%. So again, it's much healthier, our milk chocolate in France, than the one you have in the US. Okay, so here again, milk chocolate also has medicinal properties by helping the cardiovascular system because of the polyphenols, etc. And here there was a study that was researching about the effect of milk on polyphenols. There was one study where they found that milk reduced the antioxidant capacity of polyphenols, but other studies showed that it didn't have any effect. So actually, milk doesn't change the way polyphenols act in your body, apparently. That's what the study says. So what about the processing? What about raw chocolate versus, toasted chocolate, cooked chocolate? Okay, so as we said, the process, we will see it again here. The process to make chocolate, it's fermentation, drying, toasting. Okay, so that's where it differs. For raw chocolate, you have fermentation, you have drying, you don't have toasting, and then you have grinding, and then you have conching. Okay, that's what you have for raw chocolate. The only process you don't have is the toasting. Okay, so fermentation, drying, and roasting removes some of the anti-nutrients, removes theobromine, and it removes some flavonoids also. Okay, but actually toasting, so it removes some polyphenols, but apparently it creates other types of antioxidants. So in the end, you have more or less the same amount of antioxidants in the raw chocolate as in the non-raw chocolate. Okay, so it's mostly about theobromine. There will be less theobromine that is considered as a toxic or as a medicine, depending on the dosage you take, depending on the goal you want to reach when you eat chocolate. Okay, but yeah, you will have less theobromine. You will have also less other anti-nutrients, like phytic acid. Okay, so this is why we process chocolate, and this is why we process grains and seeds in general. It's to make them edible, as I was saying. Grains, seeds, cacao is a seed, are not edible. Okay, what is a seed? The seed is made by a plant to reproduce itself. Okay, so usually the plant makes a fruit around the seeds to attract animals, so the animals will eat the fruit, but they will spit out the seed. So the seed is not made by nature to be eaten. It's not. That's why it's really rich in anti-nutrients. We are not supposed to eat it. We are supposed to spit it out, so we spread the plants, the babies of these plants. Okay, and when you eat an apple, you want to eat the flesh of the apple. It's appetizing, but the seeds in the apple are not appetizing. When you see the seed, you don't want to eat them. you just want to spit it out. So what I mean is it's not natural. It goes against nature to eat the seeds in general. That's why it is unnatural. That's why we have to do unnatural processing to make them edible. Okay, so what I mean is it's not natural to eat the seeds. And so basically I would say, that's why it's actually not so healthy to eat the seeds, because it's not natural. The processing makes it edible, but it is important to remove anti-nutrients as much as possible to make them really edible without it to hurt you, because that's what you will do if you don't do all the processing. Eating these things that are not edible will hurt you. Okay, so my personal opinion is that you should not eat chocolate raw, because you need as much processing to make it edible. You need fermenting, drying, and roasting. If you eat raw cacao, it will be richer in anti-nutrients. It has more chances of hurting your digestive system. Okay, and it will prevent the absorption of some nutrients like iron and zinc, for example. Also, a food is considered raw if it's not heated above 48 degrees Celsius. But the whole process to make chocolate is actually above 48 degrees Celsius. Even so, as I said, it's raw chocolate if they don't do the toasting part, but they still do the other processing. They do the fermentation processing. Fermentation increases the temperature to around 50 degrees Celsius. So only the fermentation process that you cannot skip to make chocolate is higher than 48 degrees Celsius. So only this, it's not raw. It's not a true raw chocolate. If it does through the processing of fermenting, the processing of crushing, and the processing of refining or conching. All these are above 50 degrees Celsius. Roasting, the roasting temperature is between 100 and 140 degrees Celsius, so it's much higher indeed. So yes, it can destroy some vitamins and some other nutrients, but it will destroy the anti-nutrients also. So yeah, so another thing about chocolate is addictive. So here I have listed different studies. Don't worry, I won't read all of these studies. The only thing you have to remember is that all these studies, what they say, they try to find the reason why chocolate is addictive. They almost all come to the same conclusion. Chocolate is not addictive because of the chemical components, the phytochemicals in chocolate. It's addictive because of the palatability of chocolate, because it's fat and sugar and it melts in your mouth. This is why it's addictive. It's not really because of the theobromine, of the caffeine, of the polyphenols. It is like a part of the reason would be because of this, because it reduces mental fatigue, and it increases cognitive performance. But again, it's just a small reason. The main reason why chocolate is addictive is because it melts in your mouth. It's sweet and fatty. Okay. Another reason why chocolate would be addictive is because it has anandamide, okay, that is close to THC in marijuana. And it also has phenylethylamine, that is a chemical related to amphetamines. I'm not sure how you say it. Okay, so this would be another reason why chocolate would be addictive, but again, it's not the main reason. The main reason is really because it's a combination of fat and sugar that are two dense and rare sources of energy in nature that makes us addicted. Chocolate is an example, but you have many other examples of that. Like if you eat lots of peanut butter, why do Americans love peanut butter? It's because it's fat and it's sweet. They put sugar. If you eat peanut butter without sugar, you won't eat the whole jar. I assure you, or most people won't. So if you separate peanut butter and sugar, you won't eat the whole jar of sugar. You won't eat the whole jar of peanut butter. But both together, yeah, you will eat the whole thing. Okay, this is what makes it addictive. Chocolate is said to be also an aphrodisiac. Some studies show that it's because there's in cacao powder or chocolate you have N-acylethanolamines that act as cannabinoids mimics. Okay, so yeah, it can activate cannabinoid receptors or increase anandamide concentration. And in conjugation with other components of chocolate, such as caffeine and theobromine, it produces a transient feeling of well-being. Anandamide enhances sexual performance in male rats. So, the medicinal properties of chocolate. I'm not done, okay? So don't leave the video. I'm almost done, but the most interesting will come. So the medicinal properties of chocolate, it's mainly because of the cardiovascular health benefits of chocolate. It increases the production of nitric oxide. It regulates blood pressure. It reduces the risk of myocardial infarction and heart disease. It reduces systolic and diastolic pressure. It improves vascular function like varicose veins, hemorrhoid, bruises, and stuff like that because of the polyphenols. It protects the liver. Of course, it depends on the dosage. It reduces atherosclerosis. It is a vasodilator. It reduces the risk of stroke. It reduces insulin levels. It improves insulin resistance. It regulates blood sugar. It protects against diabetes. It is an antioxidant. It regulates lipid metabolism. It reduces LDL. It protects the skin from UV rays. It protects tooth enamel. It regulates the immune system. You have less chronic diseases when you eat chocolate. It's beneficial for the central nervous system. It decreases cognitive decline in people over 65 years old. It has prebiotic effects and it regulates the intestinal gut flora. It protects the nerves and it's good for your mood. Here are a few studies that shows that again chocolate is it protects against depression. I forgot to translate it in English, but anti-depression. There's this study that I found interesting. A study suggested a relationship between psychological health and chocolate preference, in which elderly men preferring chocolate reported feeling less lonely and depressed and happier than men preferring other types of candy. I thought that was very interesting. So what are the cons? Okay, what are the detrimental effects of chocolate? It causes relaxation of the lower esophageal sphincter, as I said earlier. So it will worsen your acid reflux. If you have GERD, it can worsen it, especially if you eat chocolate after a meal. Coffee also does that. Okay, that's why I wrote this here. Coffee and chocolate both will relax the lower esophageal sphincter. Okay, that's why coffee is famous for aggravating GERD, but just be aware that chocolate does too. Okay? If you want to eat chocolate, don't eat after a meal or at the end of a meal as a dessert. It's better to eat it on an empty stomach to avoid this problem. Okay, another problem is that chocolate is rich in calories, so you can gain weight, like too much weight, if you eat lots of chocolate. And it is very easy to eat too much chocolate, especially when it's milk chocolate, because again, as we said before, it's the combination of sugar and fat that makes it addictive. You can eat like two bars of chocolate, two big bars of chocolate if it's milk chocolate, because it's this combination of sugar and fat. So be careful with that. It decreases the activity of the vagus nerve. Many people have issues with their vagus nerve that is not tonic enough. So that will aggravate your problems if you have issues with your vagus nerve. It can cause migraines because chocolate is rich in histamine, rich in tyramine, rich in phenylalanine, Okay, so these things can give migraines to sensitive people. I have a whole video on histamine intolerance. I will put the link up there on the right side of the screen. So go watch my video about histamine intolerance. It is something that you can heal naturally. Chocolate is also rich in oxalates. I have a video about oxalates. I will also put the link up there. So if you have oxalate issues, chocolate will make it worse. But again, you can heal from this intolerance. Chocolate can worsen constipation in constipated people. Why? It's because chocolate is very rich in fat. It is concentrated in fats, and it will require a lot of bile from your liver and gallbladder to emulsify this fat. Okay, so people who have constipation, they usually don't produce enough bile, because bile is a natural lubricant for the gut. So if you don't have enough bile, you will become constipated. So if you are a constipated person, chances are that you don't have enough bile already. So if you eat chocolate or other foods that are very rich in fat, it will worsen your constipation. Okay. Chocolate is rich in fats and in toxic compounds like theobromine, caffeine, and that's hard for the liver. So if you have a very weak liver, it's not a good idea to eat very foods that are very rich in fats, and it's not a good idea to eat lots of foods that have lots of toxic compounds like caffeine and theobromine. Chocolate, like coffee, should be avoided when you have adrenal fatigue and heart palpitation. Chocolate is high in sugar and milk, so we know sugar is a problem. There's way too much sugar in our diet, in our modern world. The problem also is that sugar is refined. Refined sugar is very toxic. And milk can be a problem to people who have milk intolerance or milk sensitivity. So be careful if you have these issues. It can cause several different issues like acne because of milk and sugar. There are solutions to that. You can find chocolates that, like if you don't like dark chocolate, you can find milk chocolate that is not made with cow's milk, but with coconut milk. And that would be a good option if you like milk chocolate and you cannot tolerate animal milk. Okay, and regarding sugar, so you have lots of sugar in both dark chocolate and milk chocolate. Sometimes you can have as much sugar in dark chocolate as you have in milk chocolate. So it's not necessarily a problem that is only for milk chocolate. Okay. So regarding sugar, try to find chocolate. If you like chocolate bars, try to find chocolate bars that have that are organic and that has like non-refined sugar, like rapadura, for example. You need to know also that African chocolate is contaminated with lead and also cadmium, so it's kind of a problem. So it's mostly in Africa. It's mostly the African chocolate. If you buy chocolate from Latin America, chances are that it's less polluted in these heavy metals. And non-organic chocolate is contaminated with many chemicals, as you see on the picture on the right. If it's not organic, it is heavily sprayed because cacao trees are very sensitive to fungi and many other diseases. So if it's not organic, it will be heavily sprayed, so heavily contaminated. So please buy organic chocolate, not non-organic chocolate. Here is a chart that shows the pollution of chocolate, of African chocolate in lead and the lead contamination. What about traditional cultures? So as you know, I almost always talk about traditional cultures and Weston Price, because how do I try to find truth in all, this health world? Yes, there are studies, scientific studies. That's everything we saw in this video. Everything I showed you, I found it in studies, scientific studies. So scientific studies is one way to find the truth, but it's not the only one, because on one subject you can have one study that says one thing and another study that says the opposite. So it depends on many things. But anyway, scientific studies are not the only way to find the truth, really not. Okay, so I also use ancestral wisdom with Weston Price, and generally by finding what our ancestors did. I also use personal experience. I experiment on myself, and that's what you should do. Also listen to your body. This is something I repeat all the time. So listen to your body. Your body knows best than what you think. And common sense. I use these 4 things to make my opinion on different subjects in health. So traditional cultures and ancestral wisdom is very important. The Mayans and Aztecs did not consume chocolate every day. Okay, they did not consider chocolate as food. They considered it as medicine, and it was also used for psychoactive, effects, but not chocolate on its own. They would mix it with other plants, other herbs. Okay, so it was consumed in very small quantities, very rarely, and not by everybody. Okay, it was also consumed pure or almost pure with just some spices, but they did not consume it with sugar or milk. The process they used was fermentation, sun drying, shell removal, toasting, grinding, and they would mix it with spices. So my recommendation is to do as they did. I think they did the whole processing for a good reason, and I think we should do that too. That's why, again, regarding eating it raw or not, I don't think it's a good idea to eating chocolate raw. It is supposed to be toasted, okay, to remove some anti-nutrients, to make it more digestible. Okay. What is the opinion of the Weston Price Foundation about chocolate? They say to avoid chocolate. They don't like chocolate. Sally Fallon, the president of Weston Price Foundation, says that she really doesn't recommend chocolate. And when they do Weston Price conventions and meetings, they forbid chocolate treats and chocolate cakes, and they forbid chocolate. They can bring foods, but not chocolate. So I personally think that they are a little bit too extreme. I don't think chocolate is bad for your health. I don't think it's great either. I think it depends on the dosage. As I tried to explain all along this video, it really depends on the dosage. And in my opinion, chocolate should not be seen as food, but it should be seen as medicine. So in small amounts, I don't see any problem of eating chocolate from time to time. So yeah, if you want to pause to see what they say, so they say you have chocolate cravings mainly because of magnesium deficiency. It can be a reason, yes, but as I said before, usually it's because you want something sweet and fatty, and that's what you like when you eat chocolate, So yeah, they are a little bit too extreme. They say also one of the main reasons to avoid chocolate is because it causes migraines, and they show a study about that. So I found that study, and yes, the study shows that some people get migraine when they eat chocolate, but it's not everybody. It's only sensitive people. There are other studies. I found other studies that show the opposite of this study. Other studies that show that lots of people don't get migraines from chocolate. So who get migraines from chocolate? It's people who have sensitivity, and in particular, who have histamine sensitivity. And as I explained in my histamine video, you will have histamine sensitivity or intolerance if you have gut issues, but you can heal that. So yeah, so I think they are a little too extreme. I usually really like what they say, but on chocolate, I don't really agree with them. I don't think it's the devil that you should avoid at all costs. I really don't think so. Regarding dosages, so I let you pause on this slide if you want more details. This video is already too long, so I won't read that. I just put different dosages to give you an idea. Like if you want, if you are interested in eating chocolate as medicine, if you have hypertension, if you have issues with your gut flora, if you have bronchitis, so here you will find the different dosages they used in the studies I read, and here on the right side you can find how much theobromine, how much polyphenols in different foods, and then you can calculate on your own the dosage you would want to solve this or that condition, to treat this or that condition. Okay. And to finish, this is Jeanne Calment. She was a French woman who was one of the oldest humans to live. She died at the age of 122 years old. And you should know that she ate for decades. She ate 1 kilo or 2 pounds of chocolate per week. So that's about 1.5 bar. When I say a bar, in France, the bars are 100 grams. So it's quite big. So she ate more than 1 bar per day, okay, for decades. And she lived very old. I'm not saying that chocolate made her live old. She had, lots of other very good habits in her life regarding diet, regarding stress, etc. So it's not only chocolate, but at least it shows that high amounts of chocolate in your diet doesn't seem to be that toxic. Okay, so in this video I wanted to show you quite objectively the pros and cons of chocolate. I prefer not to tell you what to do. I let you make your own opinion, your own idea of chocolate. Is it good or is it bad, according to what I explained to you in this video. Now I give you my opinion. I like chocolates. I don't like dark chocolate. I really don't like it. I think it's bitter. I don't like the taste. I have zero craving for dark chocolate. I have cravings for milk chocolate. So I like milk chocolate, and the problem is if I buy milk chocolate bars, I can eat a ton of it. And I know it's not good because there's too much sugar in that. And the sugar is usually not great. So my recommendation, what I would do from now, with everything I learned about chocolate from making this video, I would buy cacao powder, but not raw. I would buy cacao powder that past all the processing steps, fermenting, drying, roasting, okay, not raw. And I would make a chocolate beverage with this powder. I would make it with water, and then I will cook it, not cook it, but make it hot, and then I remove it from the heat, and I would put milk, because again I don't like dark chocolate, so I would add milk, raw milk, of course. I would put the milk after heating the chocolate because I don't want to kill the probiotics. I don't want to kill the enzymes in the milk. Okay, so raw milk, and I would also put honey to make it sweet. I would not put sugar, refined sugar. I would put honey, but again, the honey I would put it in the end because you don't want to heat up the honey because you would destroy the enzymes in honey. Okay, and that's, in my opinion, the healthiest way to consume chocolate. Okay, find a 100% good quality organic cacao powder, not raw, but toasted with all the processes. Add raw milk and add honey, and that would be the best way, in my opinion, to eat chocolate. And I would not eat it every day, drink it every day. I would drink it from time to time. But again, I don't know, because Jeanne Calment, she used to eat chocolate every day. So is it really that bad to eat it every day? I'm not sure, but at least do the best you can regarding the quality of the chocolate you use and the milk and the sugar. Okay, that's it for today. So I'm sorry this video was so long, but this is everything I had to say about chocolate. If you want more information about my course on how to heal your gut, the link is under this video. It's on my website, thecandidaslayer.com. I see you in the next video. Bye bye.